everyone, on today's episode of Hubris Syndrome, Jones and I are getting hyped on Red Dead. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the show. If you were troubled or intrigued by the to be continued on the last episode.
That's how we do things now. We turn technical mistakes into intrigue.
Yes. We had some technical problems, so we're chopping it up into 2 episodes. We're back now, though.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, Brandon Jones knows a few things about Red Dead 2 because he went to a preview event.
Right.
So let's...
super early.
Spoiler alert!
Well, this will be mild. We can do the
Very
spoilers.
mild.
No, right now, I played the... God, it's got to be like the 3rd mission in the game, I'm guessing.
You've been warned.
I saw the cutscene after that, and then the rest was pretty much just like meandering world stuff. I hunted, I went into a town, I talked to a couple people. I went back to the camp and did one more mission that had a couple people in it from the first game.
So in terms of spoilers, the only thing that we can confirm, which has been kind of floating around the internet anyway with the recent trailers, is the Battle of Blackwater. The Massacre of Blackwater.
You boot the game up on go to your PS4 right now, boot it up, look at the thing. They mention Blackwater within 3 sentences. They're like, after the Battle of Blackwater, the Dutch and gang have to go on and survive. So it's, I mean, you see Blackwater in the trailers, they're definitely suggesting that. But I mean, we can get into it. I mean, where do you want to? Okay, so what we did in we can kind of start from this because I think we ended the last video when we attempted to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking a lot, and I've been thinking since the last time we talked about it, about John a lot.
Yes.
And I feel bad because when I went to that preview event, John was in a cutscene, and I was like, and I kind of looked at them, and the cutscene ended, but when we had to break, I was like, that was, because I don't know his name, honestly, right now, I couldn't tell you, because that's the only thing he's ever done, is kind of like Carrie Hayne in Aliens, like, that was it. And there's been rumors that like it was his first job, and so like he wasn't a big fan of how it worked out. I'm sure working on a Rockstar game, starring in a Rockstar game, has got to be a trial. But like when you're finally done, you're just like, okay, no more of that for a while, thanks, because you just dread that phone call where they're like, we need you back in for 4 hours to just scream, or like we're gonna hit you with a baseball bat. And so there was rumors like he wasn't gonna come back. It was kind of like Hamill with the Joker. It's like Willy Woney.
Yeah.
And when I heard him, I was like, that's him, right? And they kind of like reluctantly were like, yeah, that's him. And since it's come out, like since people have talked about that, somebody at like GameSpot or IGN was like, hey, John Marston's in it. And I was like, we can say this now? And it was a weird thing to not talk about because if you brought it up or if somebody brought it up on a podcast and I was just like, I can't say no. I can be like, I can't say, which is just as much as saying yes, And it's like, you can hear him. Yeah, I'm sure they'll release trailers and stuff like that. We hear him. But anyway, same voice actor.
Excellent.
So I keep thinking like, whoa, they got him back.
Cool.
And like, and he, again, like you can just chalk it up to like my speculation of like actually hearing him. You couldn't have fooled me. The second he opened his mouth, I was like, all right, that's him. So I'm thinking a lot about that ending, and I'm playing Red Dead Redemption again. And recalling the ending and how, obviously, they don't want to do, like, the same thing again. But I keep thinking about these characters and what we know about them. And characters that we've seen that we know what happens to them in Redemption. Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, Dutch, John, Abigail, and Jack. And we see these other people, Uncle, and we see these other people that we don't know. And so there's just like a target on every single one of their heads of just like, are they going to die? Am I going to kill them? Is Arthur? Am I just going to leave? If Arthur cares so much about the gang, what would get him to the point where he would, I can imagine him leaving Dutch, but what would get him to the point where he's actually going to hunt down and kill all these people? So I think they're just going to leave. I think that's enough. Stay with me. Yeah. That's like a very important line in the trailers. And I think like that's going to be, just going to be parroting that. And it's just going to become unhinged to a point where they're all just like, okay, Dutch has lost it. And so I think like it's going to be a pivotal point. And what I'm curious about is how much that's going to depend, how it breaks down, how much that's going to depend on your decisions throughout the game for each character. Maybe like the more time you spend with them or the better rapport you have with certain people, the longer they'll stay in the gang, or maybe the more they'll help you get out. Maybe you leave with them potentially at some point. But there's going to be a big standoff. We know Dutch survived this. We don't know if Morgan survives this. And so I don't know what I was doing. I think I was just sitting at my desk and I had a light bulb one day and I was like, oh, damn it. I think that's how they're going to end the game. So
this is the best. This
is not a spoiler because in case in point, I have not started playing this game yet. It kills me. I wish I was. I wish I could tell Huber like, sorry, I can't shoot that. Oh well, because I'm in the experience now. I'm not, and it's driving me crazy. So this is not a spoiler. This is just a silly prediction.
Wild speculation.
But it's nice because have you ever had that moment where like you think you're like, I wonder if they can do this, and then it happens, but you didn't tell anybody, and you're like, no, like I want to gloat. I'll be happy with whatever ending that they give to this, but I would not be surprised if you back out on everybody, and the big finale of Morgan's story is Dutch. Is like, there'll be some big shootout. Maybe you'll actually kill somebody. I think that would be interesting that, like, you're responsible for killing one member of your gang, and so, like, that's how Blondie goes down. That's how that gal goes down, like that. All the characters that I don't know their names that I will soon. And that'll be credits. That'll be, like, kind of the end of the game. It's like, all right, the gang's broken up. They're done. And then you become John. And just like Jack, you can be John for whatever else you need to do. If like there's anything else in that world you haven't picked up, you can do it, but it'll begin with like, you know, the scene where, because Red Dead Redemption starts with John getting off the boat and he already knows Bowler Hat,
Edgar Ross,
and his associates. And so he's already agreed to do this. Abigail knows about it. Jack knows about it. They're in protective custody. So like he's already in a position where like all this is already passed. So we'll start with that first meeting. Basically the first time John walks out of their office and is like, okay. And they take him to Blackwater specifically because that's where they know Dutch ran off to. And I'm also extremely curious if we see their base in Red Dead Redemption 2, where basically you track Dutch down to in Redemption. And but this won't be in Blackwater yet. This will be back, you know, at home where Arthur, whatever, ran off to.
Yeah.
And you're John Marston, and you track down Arthur and kill him.
And then you just get to
So
play.
the last sequence will be like, is this really gonna go down like this? You know? And it'll be trippy for you to be this other character. And I think that's kind of how they'll double down on what they did in the first game, where, you know, here was this character that we knew, somebody that was an interesting kind of moral compass at the end of the game to kind of get the sunsetting of the game story, to see John's relationship with Jack and how Jack's different from him. And you're like, oh, Jack's going to grow up to be a different person. And then, no. You know, potentially he's even worse and more savage than his dad. And I think that'll be kind of a fun way to flip the table and be like, what if you were staring at you? You know, what if you had to account for everything you did?
You had done throughout the entire game.
So just one possible way it could end. Hopefully multiple endings. We don't know.
That was my next question, Jones. So Red Dead 1 has a couple points in the game where you can make decisions, but they don't, you know, it's not like a Mass Effect situation where it has a huge impact on the story. Red Dead 2 has promised to lean into that, these moral decisions of, do you want to do this or this? Are we going to have like 10 endings to this game? Or are we going to be able to have all of the gang members survive or
three
die?
endings to GTA 5.
Yeah.
There's 3 different ways to end that. And
that was 5 years ago.
Right. And that was very much like, here you go, save it now, pick all 3.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of no return? Can we tell? You know, what's the point where we know like it's going to go off in multiple directions? Yeah. Same time though, devil's advocate, what if they don't? And what if these different endings, quote unquote, have nothing to do with Arthur? They have everything to do with everyone around him. So like each time you meet someone, each member of that gang, their life is in your hands, dude. Like you are responsible for what's going to happen to them.
I'm stressed out.
Yeah, like how, you know, and it's, I just know it. I feel it in my bones, and I think they're selling it as well, that like you can tell there's going to be a point where somebody's like, hey, let's go play pool. And you're like, okay. And like while you're playing pool, they're like, I'm going to leave the gang. And you're like, oh, and it's like, should I tell you not to? Should I, you know, like force you to stay? Should I tell Dutch? You know, like how should I deal with this?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because you don't know contextually until you like left trigger on somebody what's going to pop up in that menu. It's all conditional based on like what their attitude is. And so it'll be interesting if you hit left trigger and you're like, what? No, you know, like what? Like, you know, confess or like weird things. You're like, wait a minute. This is getting crazy.
Jones, Heidi McCourt.
Okay.
In Red Dead 1, you meet the stranger, the man in black.
Oh, sure. Is that his name?
No, he says,
yeah.
Do you remember me? And John is like, no. He's like, do you remember Heidi McCourt?
Yeah.
He's, no. References her getting her head blown off, you know, in a robbery. Do we think that's going to be the moment that kickstarts Dutch losing it? Do we think, how many of those small little Easter eggs in Red Dead 1 do we think are going to show up?
I think you hit the nail on the head right there with small. Like imagine, because think about it, like what the guy was saying in Redemption is, do you know who this is? Can you recall who that was? And he's like, no. And he's like, that was a big day in her life, you know, like, but to you, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So I could see you doing some robbery and some girl comes running out and she just shoots her in anyway. And you're like, whoa, he just shot that. Oh my God, that was her, you know? And it's like, and they don't do anything else. That's it. You know, maybe the dad says, you know, like the McCourts will get you back, you know, and you're like, oh, and like, but man, you got to dig for that. Like you and I are we're panhandling right now with Redemption of just like, what else do we have? Like,
what do we got here?
Seth gonna be in it. Landon Ricketts, is he gonna be in it? You know, and like, I think it would be fascinating because we've seen what they did with 5, and you know, I feel like it's bad because I'm spoiling other games as well. We've talked about Redemption a lot. A character you might be familiar with had you played another GTA pops up in GTA 5 extremely briefly, almost to the point where they were kind of like, we know you want us to do something with this character, but we won't because we don't care. Like, you know, these are all, it's like George R. Martin, like these are all expendable to me. I will destroy them for my amusement.
Love that in GTA 5 though. Some of that dialogue.
So I could see them doing that. I could see you having people in there that you're like, oh, here we go on this adventure with this character, and then they're gone. You know, just because they know if you're jumping in and you're playing Redemption 2 and that's it, like you've never played another Rockstar game or you heard Redemption was good but you never made time for it, it's not gonna mean anything to you.
Yeah.
But if you like are, you know, invested.
Like, Jones, we're invested. What do you want? We are on the precipice of Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
You know, our hype train has left the station what feels like a year ago. Like, I wonder if anyone out there is just sick of us screaming about this game. The game's not even out yet, and I'm declaring Game of the Year. Like,
well, you declare Game of the Year every 5 minutes. So
it's out of it's out of control. What do you want? What is your takeaway? You know, because I think of what God of War did, and to me, that kind of reinvented open worlds for me in terms of like not making it a checklist or completionist. You know, there was a big secret holy crap moment in God of War that just blew everyone's mind away, that they somehow kept a lid on.
Right.
You know?
And someone like me who didn't finish 2, didn't play 3 at all, and didn't play Ascension or PSP or any of that stuff, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh, you know, like, even with just my, like, just kind of, like, real distant relationship with that franchise, I was like, this is huge. Like,
so what do you want from Red Dead 2?
Well, I don't have specific story moments like that because this is a new character and this is in the past. Like, you know, I'm curious if these other characters are in it. I know you're like Landon or die, but I'm like, whatever. If I see him, that's great. If I don't, I felt bad because I was talking to Rockstar after the John Marston trailer came out where people saw him, totally missed him too. When I was doing the analysis and chat was like, Jones, like, it's a guy with scars on his face. I was like, oh, right. But like, I wasn't like, yeah, John. It was like, whatever. He's not in this. It's fine. Like, I'm totally fine following new characters. Every time there's a new Rockstar game, it's like, great, a new batch of people. It's been weird in recent years for them to stick because between generations, when we got from GTA 3 to 4, they completely wiped the slate clean. So like, I've been used to that. For me, it's more like 2 major thematic things. One, I want to care, you know? Like, I don't want to be 4 hours into this and be like, I really don't care about Morgan. Like, I care about John because I love him, and I care about Abigail and Jack and Uncle, and like, I'm curious to see where this goes, but like, I'm just not into, like, you know, the classic Mass Effect where like, you know, somebody or Dragon Age where it's just like you hit button B that's just like, I'm not interested, and it's just like, get away from me, you know, dick, and you're like, whoa, like, that's not what I wanted to say. Like, there's me and there's this character and we're not gelling. I have a fear of that, which is going away. I think that's just I started to build that when I first saw him and was like, ooh, he's a bit of a savage. Like, he's a bit of a smartass. But I also like that too, having played Redemption now, seeing how different he is from John and how John like was married. And so whenever like, you know, ladies of the night would come up to John, he'd be like, no, I'm married. He says that like the very beginning, actually, to the guy leading him to the fort that he's got to get past Fort Mercer. And he's like, oh no, I'm married. And he said, ain't we all? And it's like, okay, you know, you kind of get the sense of like what life is like out on the trail. But it's interesting to see Morgan kind of be more, he doesn't have those ties. So I think that factors into him not necessarily being a blank slate because you start and you're in the gang, but them giving you the chance to like, you can leave the gang, but you can decide whether you want to be, you know, mean or whether you want to be just like, I'm just living on this side of the law and that's just the way, just the path I've chosen. So I want to like Arthur. And
before you go on to the next one, let me interject there. You know, there like so many video games are clearly defined. Paragon, Renegade, we always talk about it. And I feel like The Witcher 3 is really the only time ever when I've gone through a game and it wasn't, you know, we joke about morally gray, but every situation that comes up in The Witcher 3, whether it's main quest or side quest, feels like I'm making a decision in this moment. I'm not following right or wrong. I'm using all the information to decide in this moment. And, I like you were just saying just about, do you want to do this or what kind of person Arthur is? I hope they just take that to the next level. So,
well, Geralt was nice because he was a literary character, and so a lot of the stuff I was doing, I was like, I'm not going to be affected by this. Like, there were a couple romance option things. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, who should I be picking? I got to read these books.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how attached he is to things and how, like, 2 hours later, you're like, wait, what's it? What? When did I make that decision? Like, I hope it doesn't get a fly off the rails. And 2, and this is just purely a gameplay thing, but I've been really nervous about this, and I asked them specifically the preview event. I'm like, you're not going to go Dead Rising on me. We're like, I'm going to fail some mission thing because I didn't, I was too busy, hunting squirrels or something, and you come back and it's like, oh, Dutch is dead. You were too waiting, you were in that town buying, stew. And I'm like, sorry, and they were like, no. Like, I don't want to go back to camp and it's gone. And I'm like, I missed when the camp moved. And they're like, no, like, everything is very straightforward. Like, if you want to meander through this game, you can.
Got it.
But that was just them saying that. I didn't see evidence of it, so that's another worry that I have is like what moves these things forward. I from what it sounds like, it's like anything you contribute to the gang will only make things better. It's not like there's like a hunger meter that's like, oh no, it's like don't starve, like. But yeah, that's a little devil on my shoulder that's like they're gonna screw that up, and like no, it's fine.
Lastly, Jones, as we wrap this up, there's been a lot of great video games over the years. You've seen a lot of games. You've been excited for a lot of games. I think of Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I think of any Rockstar game. Where does this compare to your previous hype in just in the grand scheme? What is your hype level right now for Red Dead 2? Is this your most anticipated game ever?
It's so big, Huber. I have regrets. You know what I mean? I'm starting to. I had this conversation with Amanda the other night because in our position, like, we don't know when we're gonna get code.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
yeah. Is it here? Is it here?
Like, Amanda's mom is in town because she's catering this movie that Amanda's shooting, and so I was like, "Don't you worry, you go off and shoot your little movie. I'm gonna be in Western town." And for the last 4 days, I'm just like, where is it? Like they come back from set or working on it. They're like, oh, you haven't gotten it yet? I'm like, no. And I got it. It's like, why did I do this to myself? Like, why did I put myself in this position? Maybe I should just calm down. And maybe Resident Evil 2 is just fine. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal. It's fine.
It's all we need.
It's not one of my favorite PS1 games ever. It's not, looks like one of the best remakes anybody's ever done. It's fine. Just don't think about it. Because I got a little dose of this with Spider-Man, where those last couple days before I got it were very rough. Yeah. And this is like wishing I would just go to bed rough. Like just me and the pillow
to the next day.
And the darkness in my thoughts.
Yeah.
Just Cartman put me in an ice block until the Wii comes out. It's bad, so yeah.
Do you like Westerns or Batman more?
They're two different things.
Yeah.
It's a genre and a character.
Yeah.
So Batman's my favorite character. It's my favorite story.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I wouldn't want to live in Gotham. I wouldn't want to be any of those people. But I love a good revenge tale. I love characters that are capable. That are like John Wick. That are just like, no, I got this. I'm so fascinated by those stories, and so it's just got everything I love. Comic books, obviously, villains, Gothic. It's just like everything. Yeah. But Western just is kind of. I grew up in California. I'm just used to the desert. Been to Joshua Tree. Been hiking. Been on long terms. Been to Arizona and so been to a lot of these areas that I see in this game. And so these screenshots are just like they equal to me. Rest and relaxation, just like going out into the wild and just going out and just, there's just nothing like just being in the middle of nowhere and just hearing birds and trees and wind and nothing else. No helicopters, no planes, no cars, no radio, no nothing. And it's just, that just does something to your brain. And so even just getting like a small teaspoon of that via games is great. Not to, pistols are fun. And
I love that, Jones.
Hats
that
are
is
fun.
Amazing.
It's just all,
Great final word, Brandon Jones.
Now I gotta go calm down. This even just this conversation is worth 10 minutes of pure straight meditation.
I know.
I'm just like,
You wanna know what's insane? The next time you see us, Red Dead Redemption 2 will be out.
After next Huber syndrome?
Yeah, early access, no, but for everyone else, it goes up on Thursday. Red Dead 2.
You'll at least have seen it.
Thursday at 9.
I gotta remind you of something that I'm gonna hold to my word. It might take a little while. It's not going to be immediate, but
Yeah.
it's coming. But do you remember what you requested of me specifically? It's another classic Huber blind spot.
Probably something with a bank robbery.
No.
Something with a kill.
Yes.
Okay.
The first one.
The first kill.
You said, Jones, send me the first kill.
The first kill.
You're
Okay.
just like, I just want it via Slack. No context, nothing.
Yep.
Just the first one, the first person that goes down.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Not cutscene though.
No.
By your hands.
Oh yeah, gameplay.
Okay.
The first one that lives and dies by my bullet will be sent to you
Excellent.
HD via Slack. It'll be like a 3-second clip.
Love it.
I'm looking forward to that. I wanted to send it to you randomly, and I was like, I'm like, I bet your memory is so shoddy,
I know.
just like your eyesight. I bet that you'd be like, dude, spoilers, what? Like, what? What's random?
Get all
I'm like,
defensive.
you grabbed me and asked for this. Months later, what?
Love it. All right, everyone. See you very soon.